Is Steve Nash a good enough coach to get us a championship? Steve, I'll give that to you.
For sure. If again, to Vam's favorite word, if if we can have our quintessential, like, at least 7 of our top 10 guys. Nash is not the best, in my opinion, to me at least. He's not the X's and O's coach, or like in-game coach. That's not what's going to make him great. He's more of a keep keep the everybody from panicking while there's like a little brush fire and things like that from
Yep.
going on. That's what I love about him. But definitely, I mean, look, nobody's thinking Budenholzer's a great coach and he won an NBA championship. And I think the talent to me always wins out in the NBA.
Hmm.
So I'll put it this way: Nash will not hold us back from winning a championship.
You know what Nash is? Nash is Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson didn't run the offense on the Bulls or the Lakers. That was Tex Winter. Phil Jackson didn't run the defense. He had an assistant coach for that, several of them. What Phil Jackson was really good at, Phil Jackson was good at managing NBA egos to the point where his teams, you never knew they had problems inside the locker rooms until they were at the very end. Matter of fact, this Scottie Pippen Michael Jordan thing has been waiting to boil over so long that it took until the documentary came out to show how much in terms of cracks was in that team. Steve Nash is there to be the Nets CEO in the sense of he's the face in the press conference. He lies to the stockholders and he attracts talent to the company. That's what Steve Nash does. He's Phil Jackson. Now, Bam, tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, I would say a lot of what Steve said. I think Nash is a below average coach, but I think you can win with below average coaches in the NBA if the talent is right.
I've seen
Um,
coaches lose, Bam,
well, he did.
because
He
they
listen. He had
overcoached.
a big part in us losing Game 3 versus Milwaukee last year, and then me and you were talking, not even on the pod. We were just talking on the phone, and I was like, "You can't lose these types of games. Like, you never know what happens. One sprained ankle." So you could blame Kyrie's sprained ankle on me last year because I put it out there in the
Oh, it's definitely your
in
fault.
I put it out there because I've seen this movie a million times. I just he's not going to hold us back. He's not going to put us over the top. It's just like, and I understand. I curse him in the middle of games. I'll call for him to be fired on Twitter. I'm going to just say this for anybody that talks to me during Nets games. Even if you agree with what I say, toss what I say out during the games. I get too emotional. So when I have a level head of thinking about it, like I'm not in love with Nash, the coach, but I ultimately think it just doesn't matter that much.
As
And
the person
I'll
who
say this.
absorbs all of his anger and angst and pain, I'm the one that
Yeah,
gets it in
you just
text
stopped
message.
responding. You
And
just
Eves,
stopped
I'll say
responding.
this.
No,
The
I
one
haven't.
thing I love about the one
Go
thing I
ahead.
love about Steve Nash
Mm.
is him being a former player. And yes, too, sometimes we talk about this because, like, oh, KD's minutes will be high or whatever. But the one thing I love about him is, and I know we ultimately lost the series or whatever, but like in Game 5, like he knew he had to play KD 48 minutes or else we weren't going to be able to win that game. And I feel like, just like another coach like Budenholzer, he's known for always or Atkinson back in the days, like, oh, you got to manage the minutes because they got to stick to their like analytics and everything. So it's like Steve Nash can be that kind of coach too, where he can sometimes know the flow of the game or things like that. Being a former player, where it could help us.
No, I definitely. So Steve Nash knows what it's like to be a superstar. I always felt like he robbed Jason Kidd, of a MVP. But he knows how to be that guy. He knows how those guys function. And also, please don't get offended to me from me saying this, but on my son's basketball team, uh, it's 20 kids. The two coolest kids on I'm maybe not the coolest kids, but the two white kids on the team, they're so fucking cool. Like it's amazing. And it just goes to show, like, when you just kind of have to play basketball, you live in basketball culture, you become like a Steve Nash. Steve Nash was really good friends with Kobe. Steve Nash was really good friend. Like, Steve Nash was a guy that Kevin Durant used to seek out for basketball knowledge. So I think we're getting our money's worth for Steve Nash, and I think Goran Dragic is yet again another example of why he's here. He's the face. He's the one that lies to the stockholders. Okay. Last thing, and we're gonna get the fuck up out of here. Right? This mandate. Everyone's celebrating a victory lap. People are saying Mayor Adams looking forward to ending vaccine mandates, but no timetable. Like, why every time information comes out, even though I believe fully that this thing will be over on in March, I'm sure of that. I hope for Bam's health. But like, are you guys comfortable with believing that the mandates are over?
Can I
I didn't
get
think
this
there was.
one, Bam?
Yeah.
Because I the one thing I'll say is, like, I saw the Eric Adams thing today where he said, in a few weeks we'll go over it, or it'll be over in a few weeks or something like that. But the one thing I saw is, one thing I'll say to myself is, until it actually happens, that's when I'll believe it and everything like that. And then the other thing is, I honestly, I see people, and I think it's mostly the Kyrie stands saying, like, "Oh, Kyrie won, Kyrie won." What did Kyrie win? We're like, by the time he gets back on the court, we'll have like 20 games left, if that, and he'll miss the whole season. And it's just like it, like, I get it.
He also lost millions of dollars.
Yes,
Right.
he did. So it's just this whole area. It's just one of the. I'll be so happy when it's over, just so we don't have to talk about it again. Honestly.
And the thing for me was, we just fired like 1,400 something New York City employees. The last lawsuit trying to like fight the mandates didn't work. Everybody who works for the city has to take the vaccine or get fired. What happened to fighting for those people? How come that's not talked about anymore? What did we get out of this? What did this protest do for the city of New York, the unvaccinated, the people who've made that choice, or your teammates, or Kevin Durant, or even Kyrie Irving? What did he get out of this? How did he win?
I'll tell you, he got one thing. He got time with his son, and for him, that's very valuable, I'm sure. And God bless him if that's what made him happy. But from a basketball perspective, from a changing the world perspective, from the COVID and the divisiveness over that, he accomplished absolutely nothing. He lost time to his career with his teammates. That's it. And he lost a ton of fucking money. Now, maybe the time with his son, for a guy like him, you said, you were talking before, I told you I had the day off today. It's been a while. And, you were talking about, earlier in your career, working a lot. Maybe it was worth it to him. And, God bless him if it was. But all the shit about, I'm just one person out here trying to be me and be the voice of the voiceless, that was just all verbal vomit. And it was from the get-go.
Why is it so hard for us to recognize that, though? Like, it's just so weird that we can't have a conversation or even feel disappointed as Nets fans because other Nets fans are gonna come and tell you, like, how dare you want to win? Like, it's just very
well. It's just like Steve said before. Those same people loved Harden until it was evident he was gone. And the same thing will happen with Kyrie when his career, and it might be 3 years from now, but his career with the Nets will end unceremoniously at some point, and he'll be kicked out the door on his way out.
Hmm.
The
I
fans
hope
will
that's
say
not the
good
case.
riddance. Look, if it's
Unless he wins a chip.
right,
Yeah.
if it's the Cavs situation, those fans who hated on him, I don't understand. To me, you get the title, like Burris, great example, right? Fucked up the '08 champ rerun, but he got me the one in '07.
Yep.
I'm good with my man Plax.
Yeah. Plax is still a hero. People invite him to come shoot yourself on many club nights in Manhattan. You know,
Correct.
So no matter what, that old pimp.
He can shoot me in the hip if he wants.
Listen, that old pimp, Clyde Frazier had a restaurant that nobody liked the food in Manhattan, but it went for a long time, and
Right.
and he deserved it because he's the last person to bring and maybe the only person. Yeah, the only person to bring an NBA championship to New York City. So win you. But again, it's why win when you have the cult following that this dude has already. Why do championships when 500 dudes on Twitter is gonna fucking attack anyone that has the nerve to say anything about you? So like, it's a very odd thing. Like winning is hard. You could just be cult leader and chill. All right. So let's just one last thing. When does KD get on the floor? When does Ben get on the floor? When does Joe get on the floor? I'll start with you, Bam. KD, Ben, Joe.
Joe Harris next season, and it may not be in a Nets uniform.
Wow.
Ben Simmons, I'm going to be optimistic, and I'll say March 4th-ish, 5th-ish. But that's my heart speaking. My head says after the 10th. Durant will be back the first week of March and early in it. I think he'll miss. In fact, I'll just give you an exact date. He'll miss the next two, and he'll play the third game.
The third? That's a good guess.
Yeah.
Steve.
This is the last thing I'm going to say tonight.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to keep repeating this. Do not underestimate the chances of LeBron James being on the Nets next year. And I'm not going to
Oh shit.
I'm not going to elaborate. But do not there's a very real possibility that looks to be headed towards a divorce. And I can see it happen.
He's not coming here, man. No.
Fuck all the glamour and glitz. I plan to get rich. I'm from New York and never was a fan of the Knicks.
Yo, Steven, KD, Ben, Joe. When do they play?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with Joe. I think we don't see Joe until next season. When I start hearing second surgeries and the fact that we haven't heard anything really progressive about him, positively about him, it scares me. And I for his sake, I'd rather not him come back now that we have Seth as the insurance. The KD, I want to say the third. We play 4 games, but because I think the beginning of next week would be a little too early if they're going to stay on these weeks away. I think the third, we play the Heat at home. That's when I think KD will play. Ben, I want to say maybe like a game or 2 after that.
I'm going to say KD plays Monday because I'm tired of losing. I'm going to say Ben, I don't know when Ben is going to play, but he has to play before the 10th for me. That's gutless.
And he has to play on the 10th. And he has to play on the 10th. He has to play in Philly. That's a huge thing for me.
Me too. I will
just
look at
get
him
it
different.
over with.
That's what I'm saying. He's gonna have to do it eventually. Just do it.
Just get it
Go
over
ball
with.
out. Have a revenge
Rather
game.
do it now than in the playoffs. God forbid we play them. I want to play. This is what I want to ask both of you. And I know it's tough to say right now because we're all kind of maybe on the negative side just because we've been losing a lot of late. But if this does turn around, they get on the court and it starts working well. Since I've got you both here, I wanted to ask you, what would be your dream say we're like this,